Nen Inscription is an advanced form of using Nen, where aura-infused symbols and scripts are put on objects to enforce conditions, vows, or restrictions. The mechanics behind Inscription is still pretty mysterious, but it seems to work kind of like casting spells on things. We first see this in chapter 51, when Wing gives Gon a string to remind him not to use Nen for 2 months. Later in chapter 56, when Wing gives Gon the green light to use his Nen again, the string breaks as soon as Gon does. Wing explains that he inscribed the string so it would snap if Gon used Nen, which would show that he broke his promise. The second time we see an inscription is in chapter 65, when Gon and Killua try to open the unbreakable iron box that Ging left behind for Gon. Once Gon uses his Nen, the box breaks apart. It turns out the box was made of several plates engraved with inscriptions like Wing's string, and both reacted to Nen in the same way. Inside another box is a ring with similar engravings, which Killua guesses is tied to Greed Island's save system. From these examples, we can gather that inscriptions make objects stronger and trigger specific events when a condition, like being exposed to Nen, is met. However, the rings in Greed Island don't break when they come into contact with Nen, which hints that inscriptions can do more than just strengthen objects or break when exposed to Nen. When players enter Greed Island, they get a ring with engravings that let them use in-game abilities, like conjuring the book or using the command Gain, so inscriptions clearly have a range of uses. In chapter 342, we see Beyond Netero wearing handcuffs with inscriptions while he's imprisoned. Given how strong Beyond is, he would easily break normal handcuffs if he wanted. This shows another use for inscriptions, where they can restrict someone from using Nen while they're in possession of the engraved object. This could be how the Hunter Association restrains Nen using criminals, who would be hard to imprison otherwise. Hisoka's past remains one of the biggest mysteries in the series, as Togashi prefers to keep his backstory shrouded in mystery to preserve the enigmatic nature of his character. However, in June of 2016, Sui Ishida, the author of Tokyo Ghoul, released a prequel one-shot featuring Hisoka's origin story. The story is set in Glamgas Land, where young Hisoka is discovered by Moritonio, the ringmaster of a circus troupe. Impressed by Hisoka's magical skills, Moritonio brings him into the troupe, where Hisoka quickly stands out with his incredible juggling and dexterity. Meanwhile, a serial killer known as John Doe or 100 Face is on the loose, causing chaos in the area. Moritonio starts teaching Hisoka about Nen, and being the prodigy that he is, Hisoka picks it up super fast, mastering techniques that would normally take years to learn. As things move forward, another circus performer, Abaki, gets attacked by John Doe after she accidentally witnessed him in the act of assaulting a random man. Hisoka steps in and saves her, but he senses something isn't right. After a big performance at the Royal Glam Hotel, Hisoka confronts Moritonio, accusing him of being John Doe. Moritonio admits to it, revealing that he has a dark past where he killed his own sister just for the thrill. He says he created the circus to satisfy his twisted urges in what he claims to be a less harmful way, but he still couldn't resist hurting people. He then shows Hisoka his Nen ability, Scarf Ace, which lets him swap faces, explaining how he's been getting away with murders as John Doe. The confrontation turns into a fight, with Moritonio using his blood magnet power to attack Hisoka with magnetic bars. However, Hisoka reveals his own newly developed Nen ability, Bungee Gum, which if you guys aren't aware by now, has the properties of both rubber and gum. With this, Hisoka turns the attack onto Moritonio, finishing him off. In the end, Hisoka changes Moritonio's face to the one he had when attacking Abaki, framing him as John Doe before leaving the scene. While Ishida's version is recognized by Togashi, it may or may not be considered canon. And really quick, if you enjoy straight to the point informative content like this, without any fluff, then make sure to subscribe and turn those notifications on, because that's all we post here every single week without fail. But anyway, Journey to the New World is a journal written by Don Freecss about his travels to the Dark Continent. Over 300 years ago, Don ventured there alone and explored the Mobius shoreline, documenting his journey in 2 volumes, the East Edition and the West Edition. However, only the East Edition has been found. Copies of it are stored in the basement of the International Permit Agency, and the book has become legendary, offering valuable insight into the Dark Continent, including information on the 5 threats that humanity brought back from there. The West Edition, though, hasn't been found yet. Ging Freecss believes that Don might actually still be writing it, hinting that Don, who could be his ancestor, is still out there exploring the uncharted western part of the Dark Continent. This might be possible because Don knew about nitro rice, a grain that can extend someone's life. If that's true, the West Edition could also contain even more dangerous threats and treasures than what's in the eastern part. It is unclear how the IPA got their hands on the East Edition or where it was found, but some fans think Don may have published it in the known world before heading back to the Dark Continent to complete the second edition. The identity of Gon's mother has been an interesting topic of discussion within the Hunter x Hunter fanbase, especially since it seems that keeping the intrigue around Gon's biological mother is something that's very intentional. One interesting theory is that Gon's mom could be a highly rated hunter herself. This theory says that Gon's unique personality, which is pretty different from Jing's, could come from a mom who also put her career as a hunter over being a parent. It would explain Gon's strong Nen abilities and why he's unusually powerful for his age. But the wildest theory involves the Pregnancy Stone card from Greed Island, which was designed by Ging. This card lets players become pregnant by carrying a stone for a month, and this is regardless of their gender. They can even choose the baby's gender by picking the right stone. Some fans think Ging used this card to, quote, create Gon. The idea is that since Gon's mom is never shown or mentioned, Ging might have used this card to have Gon himself. And since Gon had his own ring and binder for Greed Island, he could have been born from the game's mechanics rather than through a normal pregnancy. There are a few issues with this theory though. First, in a cassette tape message to Gon, Ging mentions Gon's mom and even recorded her voice. So this means that she does exist, though Gon chooses not to listen to her voice. So there is a possibility that Ging was just trying to play a trick on Gon and would reveal that he was also his mother in the second recording. Second, if the card was used, it implies Gon is entirely made of Nen, which would lead to some problems. For example, after the Chimera Antarch, Gon loses his ability to use Nen, so if he was purely a Nen being, it's unclear how he would even survive without accessing it. Ging Freecss' reputation in the Hunter Association, and the way Netero praises him, show just how skilled he is at Nen. However, we haven't seen his actual Nen abilities in the series, leaving many to speculate his true potential. While we still don't know which Nen category he belongs to, he's shown serious skill in both emission and manipulation, like when he stored his aura in a tape, and gave it the command to self-delete after playing. The command still worked 10 years later, and the aura was strong enough to block a punch from Killua, showing he also has solid skills in enhancement. A great example of Jing's Nen mastery came when he flawlessly copied Leorio's remote punch on the first try. He explained that he can usually mimic other people's attack abilities after being hit by them, but noted that it's a natural talent, not a Nen ability. One theory suggests that Ging is a master emitter, with an ability that allows him to link his aura with his own teammates' aura nodes, giving everyone in the group access to each other's aura pools, and allowing them all to be more proficient in all Nen categories. The catch is that this only works with people who fully trust him, and are united under a common goal. This could explain why Ging is always part of a group, whether it's the non-profit organization, the Greed Island creators, the Zodiacs, or Beyond Netero's Dark Continent expedition team. With this ability, plus his knack for recreating Hatsu just from seeing it in action, a team led by Ging could probably accomplish anything. This could even be the key to how Greed Island was created. Another theory says that Ging is an enhancer, with the ability to expand his memory capacity. This would let him create and use multiple Hatsus without overloading his ability to control Nen. In Greed Island, there are over 100 different cards, most with their own unique abilities. Even for a team of 10 Nen Masters, creating that many Hatsus would be impossible without memory overload. So the theory is that Ging enhanced his own memory space with some kind of restriction. One final theory suggests that Ging might not have a unique ability at all. Given his strong desire for freedom, he might have rejected the idea of limiting himself to one Hatsu. This refusal to commit to a single ability could act as a self-imposed restriction, which amplifies any ability he copies, explaining why he's so good at mimicking others' techniques. The Kurta Clan plays a major role in the story, as it's where Kurapika comes from and is the reason he's so driven to become a hunter. We don't know much about their origins, but we do know they were a small, isolated group of 128 people living in a beautiful forest in Luxo province. The Kurta were known by their scarlet eyes, which were so stunning that they became a hot commodity for collectors. Unfortunately, people outside the clan would fear them when they saw their eyes change, which is why the Kurta chose to live in seclusion. When Kurapika finally left the clan to find a doctor for his friend Pyro, the Phantom troops slaughtered the entire clan to sell their eyes, leaving Kurapika as the only survivor. This tragedy sparked his vow for revenge against the group and his mission to recover the stolen eyes of his people, some suggesting that there's much more to them than we know. One theory claims that the clan elders killed a woman who accidentally found their village, and this woman happened to be a friend of the Phantom troop, which is why they attacked the Kurta clan in retaliation. This could explain the note that the spiders left behind hand that reads, "We'll accept anything you leave, but don't ever take anything away from us." However, this is all of course speculation, considering the woman is likely not dead. A more plausible explanation is that the woman was working with the Phantom Troop all along, and was sent to spy on the clan. Another theory suggests that the Kurta Clan originally came from the Dark Continent, and migrated to the known world long before Kurapika's time. This might make sense, given their unique trait of eyes turning scarlet with intense emotions. Plus, there are little clues of this being the case, like the large birds they use for travel also seem to be able to be found on the Dark Continent, and the design on the eye drop bottle used during the Kurta Clan trials looks very similar to the design on the gate to the New World, all of which might support this theory. Gyro is the founder and former king of NGL. His backstory is one of the most captivating ones in the series, as we get to see his rough childhood, being constantly abused by his alcoholic father. Despite everything, Gyro still respected his father, and thought his brutal upbringing was an act of fatherly love. But at the age of 12, he found out his father didn't care about him at all, and that's when he snapped. Gyro ended up killing his father and leaving the construction camp they lived on, swearing to spread evil across the world. He created a new narcotic drug to ruin people's lives, and worked his way up in the underworld, eventually founding NGL and becoming its king. However, things went south when he was captured by the Chimera Ants and eaten by the Queen. But Gyro's willpower was so strong that even after being reborn as a Chimera Ant, he kept his memories and broke free from the Queen's control. After escaping, he was seen wandering around Dali City, where Gon and Killua were set to meet up Knuckle and Shoot. Now with his new power as a Chimera Ant, Gyro is ready to spread his evil plans on a whole new level. He hasn't been seen since, but Welfin thinks his king might be planning to start a new nation in Meteor City. Togashi himself hints that Gyro will play a major role in the future, especially with his new powers and his ambitions to take over entire nations. The Sonata of Darkness is a piece of music rumored to be composed by the devil himself, and it's said that anyone who plays or even listens to it will be terribly cursed. The piece has solo parts for piano, violin, harp, and flute. Melody once heard the flute solo, which dramatically changed her appearance, and her friend who played it died in a gruesome way. The sonata also gave Melody an unnatural sense of hearing, but she said that she'd give anything to go back to how she was before. When Melody tells Kurapika about the sonata, he hesitates to believe her at first, but then she rolls up her sleeve to show him what the sonata did to her. While we don't know what her arm looks like, Kurapika's reaction says it all, as he shivers at the sight of it. Melody reveals that she's searching for the deadly musical score so she can destroy it. The mystery around the sonata has started to become more clear recently, since the introduction of the Dark Continent. Many believe the sonata has a deep connection with this mysterious place, which could explain why Melody joined the expedition to the New World. Also, many have noticed similarities between the sonata and one of the Dark Continent's known calamities, known as PAP. Pap's description reads, "The trade-off between life and pleasure. Melody's friend lost his life for the pleasure of playing the music, and he died in a way that's similar to the victims of the Dark Continent's calamities. Pap's victims are shrunken to the size of dolls, and Melody herself looks unusually small, possibly partially shrunken, since she only suffered part of the effects of the music. If her arms look like something caused by Pap, Kurapika's reaction would make sense." Ging Freecss also mentions that victims of Pap have been found in the known world, and it's possible that Melody's friend, and others who had access to the sheet music, could be among them. There's no confirmation the sonata is related to Pap, and it could just be an entirely separate calamity on its own. Besides the Sonata of Darkness, there's another mysterious item that also needs to come into play in the story, the Hermit's Scroll. Early on, Hanzo mentioned that he wanted to become a hunter to track down this elusive scroll, which is said to be hidden in a country closed off to outsiders. Initially, some people thought this was referring to NGL, but now most people believe it's actually talking about the Dark Continent. No one knows exactly what kind of power the Hermit Scroll holds, but most people think it probably contains secret ninjutsu techniques, making it a prize target for ninjas like Hanzo. It's possible that Hanzo, using his perks as a hunter, gathered intel and discovered the scroll is in the Dark Continent. This might be why he accepted Kurapika's job offer to work as a bodyguard for a Kakin prince, seeing it as his ticket to the Dark Continent. Another theory suggests that the Kakin Empire itself has the Hermit Scroll, since Hanzo seems to be very familiar with this country he mentioned. Maha Zoldyck is the oldest known member of the Zoldyck family, said to be around 120 years old. He's believed to be Zeno's grandfather, which was confirmed when Zeno mentioned that Netero once fought his grandfather and was the first person to fight him and survive. That alone says a lot about Maha's strength, considering Netero is known as the strongest Nen user in the world. Since Maha is the only person we know who survived a battle with Netero, it's safe to say that he was probably at least the second strongest Nen user in his prime. We don't know much about him, but he did make an appearance in the series when he helped Illumi and Kaluto take down the 10 Dons. Based on his appearance, some think his personality and style are pretty similar to Killua's. This has led to speculation that Maha might have had an ability like Killua's Godspeed, which could explain how he kept up with Netero in their fights. Interestingly, the 2004 Hunter x Hunter databook described Maha as Zeno's father instead of grandfather, but in chapter 264, it looks like Togashi retconned him to be Zeno's grandfather after all. His age may have been changed as well, as the family tree shows him being around the same age as Netero. This retcon caused confusion among some people, with some mistaking Maha for Zig Zoldyck, who speculated to be Zeno's father. It's even possible that Maha and Zig are the same person, and that his name, age, and family relation were all retconned or mistranslated. Kite's demise at the hands of Pito was one of the most shocking moments in the series, but his reincarnation as a female chimera ant was just as surprising. Ging Freecss hinted that Kite might have had an ability that could explain it, and that points to his Nen ability crazy slots, specifically the weapons we haven't seen yet. Right before his death, Kite rolled slot number 3, which likely played a big role in his revival. One popular idea is that number 3 could be connected to some general reincarnation ability that activates after death, which would invoke postmortem Nen. Of course, this would require a host to deliver his rebirth, and the nearby queen proved to be the most ideal. Another theory is that it's a soul transfer ability, letting Kite's soul or consciousness move into another body, which makes sense given that Nen can linger after death, aka postmortem Nen. His soul may have just accidentally gone into the nearby chimera ant fetus instead of a human one. Benny Delon was a legendary blacksmith, known for creating the famous Ben's knives, but there's a dark twist to his story. He was a knife shop owner living about 100 years before the current events of the series, and was also secretly a serial killer. Every time he murdered someone, he would forge a knife with a number marked on it to commemorate the crime. Although he probably wasn't aware of Nen, Benny somehow infused aura into these knives during the forging process. This aura still lingers in the present and can be sensed by Nen users or seen through Gyro. Benny would mix in these special knives with the regular ones in his shop, and over time, he made a total of 288 Ben's knives. While in prison, he's reported to have said, "Each of my victims' screams and facial expressions inspired my work." Despite his twisted nature, Benny was so skilled at his craft that some people considered him as an artist, and even had a cult following during his life. Gon and Killua come across one of his knives at a market in York New City, where they sense the lingering aura coming from it. Killua easily recognizes it as a Ben's knife, and mentions that his father Silva is a fan of Benny's work. One of these knives ends up in the hands of Crollo, who used it against Silva during a fight. Silva immediately recognizes the knife and its poison, using his own hair as a tourniquet around his arm to stop the poison from spreading. So far, we've only seen 2 out of the 288 Ben's knives in the series, and each one seems to have its own deadly ability. The one Crollo uses generates a powerful poison, capable of paralyzing an entire whale. Even after Benny's death, the fact that aura still remains on the knives after so many years could hint at the possibility of Benny being a powerful emitter or even a specialist. Floor Masters are the top 21 fighters in Heaven's Arena, and they each get their own floor between the 230th and 250th levels. To become a Floor Master, you need to win 10 matches on the 200th floor without losing more than 4 of them. After that, you get a chance to challenge an existing Floor Master, and if you defeat them, you take their spot. Floor Masters can also join Battle Olympia, a tournament held every 2 years, where the winner gets to live in a fancy penthouse on the 251st floor. So far, the only confirmed Floor Masters in the story are Crollo and Hisoka. Hisoka actually became eligible after defeating Gon, and then later beat a Floor Master to claim their spot. Castro, who was considered just as strong as a floor master, never got the chance to challenge one, because Hisoka finished him off. Judging by how powerful Chrollo and Hisoka are, it's safe to say that other floor masters are no joke either. This being said, let's forget about the non-canon floor masters from the 2013 Hunter x Hunter movie, The Last Mission. No offense to Zushi, but it's very unlikely that he's on the same level as Chrollo and Hisoka. Plus, those other floor masters in the movie appear to be very weak. As for the canon story, we don't know much about the rest of the floor masters, and we might never even get to meet them. Some think Silva Zoldyck could have been a former floor master himself, since every Zoldyck heir has to fight in Heaven's Arena as part of their training. Some even believe that Chairman Netero was one of the first floor masters, and there's also a theory of Wing being a former one, given the way he's training Zushi through Heaven's Arena as if he's molding him to become his successor. Well, that does it for our list of Hunter x Hunter mysteries today. If you guys enjoyed this video and want more mysteries answered, let me know in the comments below and we can create a part 2 to this video. In the meantime though, make sure to click the video you see on your screen right now to learn about every Dark Continent mystery in the series, and we'll see you there.